Rush Hour Podcast. We're back. Another big week in tech. I mean, we got a lot going on in the world. I'm TW. This is Justin. Two tech guys, non-technical, but we're here to talk about the tech industry. First things first, everybody's talking about the government shutdown. How does that impact tech? Well, what's going on? We'll talk through that. There's also Casey Neistat's video on the future of mobile tech, sort of the wearables battle. It seems like it's coming down to Apple versus Meta. How does that play out? What are our thoughts on that? And then some AI news. We've got AI music, AI in Hollywood. What's happening? Let's jump into it. Let's start with the government shutdown, Justin. Like how is this going to impact us in the tech world? What do you hear? What are you seeing?
Yeah, for sure. So unless you've been living under a rock, the Republicans and Democrats weren't able to come to an agreement on funding the government, and so it's resulted in this shutdown, which is affecting a lot of different federally run programs, right? So outside of tech, it would be things like, TSA and like Department of Human and Health Services, which expects some furloughs, FAA, which expects furloughs, other benefits. Now, just for people who are kind of like, well, I haven't been watching this closely, how does it impact me even outside the tech stuff? Before we get to that, Social Security and Medicare benefits, they're still funded. They're outside annual budget process. Postal Service will keep running. Veterans care and disability payments will go out. SNAP benefits will go out. So those things aren't affected yet. But TSA, like air traffic control, members of other governmental organizations will likely be furloughed and some fired. That's what the Trump administration has been signaling, that some jobs may not return after this period. But that's just kind of general context setting in terms of what's going on now. So in terms of the tech specific angle, how does it affect tech? Well, there are a few federal programs that impact things within tech Silicon Valley space. So first would be FTC, DOJ, SEC. They're either partially or mostly shuttered, which during this time, maybe for the benefit of people trying to get things through, like curbing enforcement won't be as heavy. At the same time, reviews and oversight, deal flow, deal pipeline, and IPO pipelines are more or less frozen out right now. So the SEC furloughed about 90% of its staff. So think of new filings, crypto ETF rollouts, other IPOs. Those will be delayed during this period. Okay. Another big topic that we talked about recently was, H-1Bs and visas and all the changes there. So there's probably going to be some log jams in terms of immigration services, processing new visa applications for folks who are coming in now. And then the other big thing is cybersecurity, right? Like the shutdown has hamstrung the CISA, which is basically the organization that helps to keep us safe from a security perspective, and all the threats, all the cybersecurity related threats go through that organization. So that's a little shaky to see. They're only down about 35% of their staff right now. So not tremendously large impacts on tech specific space right now, but will be felt throughout the economy. Maybe some impacts on growth. I think analysts expect the shutdown to shave 0.1 to 0.2 percentage points per week of GDP that this continues, based on some recent Reuters news. But that's kind of where we are right now within tech, and then kind of greater.
Interesting. I was thinking, all right, what's going to really happen here? I sort of looked at it as, all right, eventually we'll come to terms with a deal and it won't get to the point where mail and things like that are shut down, but maybe, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on this, right? Like you just never know.
Yeah. Right now, there's two conversations, right? There's like us and why maybe people follow our channel, which is around tech specific impact. I mean, if you're at companies that were looking to IPO soon, this may push things back a bit. My sense is, I think the last time we had a shutdown, I don't know if it was like around the 2015 period. I think when Trump during his first term, it was around like a month of time, and it wasn't great. And basically what happens when people are furloughed for some time, if they're not paid at some point, they just start calling in sick and not going in. Right. That can impact more travel related stuff. But let's say everything's pushed back by a month for IPOs and deals and M&A. Is that really going to impact the overall space with so much? Not a ton for my sidelines right now. Now, if it continues much longer than that, and who knows within this current political environment, maybe more of an impact. Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the next wearable tech. Casey, Neistat, who doesn't really drop YouTube videos as much as he used to,
Yeah.
dropped a future of $3 trillion market of mobile tech, and he kind of mapped out the Apple versus Meta. What are your thoughts on that? Like, I love the video. I love his the way he sort of like showcases his the content. But like, he went back and said, "Look, I thought Apple Vision was incredible. I thought the Ray-Ban Meta was terrible, and guess which one I'm using? The Ray the Ray-Bans. I'm not
Yeah.
using the Apple." I thought it was really interesting, right? Like we talked about all of those things. What are your thoughts on his take?
Yeah, and we should definitely post this in the show notes for folks so they
Yeah,
can check out the video. It's only 7 minutes, so it's definitely worth spending a few minutes taking a look at. I thought one, I liked how he went back on his original thinking. He said, "Listen, when I put on the Oculus at first, I thought this was going to kind of change the way that people interact with the AR VR device, and I was going to
right.
use it every day." And then he admitted he was completely wrong about that and thought that the Meta device was actually pretty good. And I think the key insight that he presented was around the social piece, and
Yeah,
that when you have on the Oculus, like if you're in a public setting or at
I mean
home, your
Apple
friends.
Vision, not Oculus.
Sorry. The app, the Apple Vision, Apple Vision Pro, right? It's ultra premium. You have this heavy headset. Like it looks very very cool, but it is kind of like a solo player isolated
Right.
experience. It's not something you can kind of take out, walk around without looking a little odd. And then even if you're in the comfort of your own home, the feedback that his wife had was like, "Hey, it seems like you're checking out when you're wearing that."
Yeah, it's
As
creepy.
opposed to the glasses, which he said, "Hey, it's like sunglasses, wear it all the time. I'm using it for photos and calls and music, and now some AI components. It can more seamlessly blend into people's lives." And because of that social aspect, because of like, hey, if I'm wearing this device, I just feel like I can kind of live than I normally
Yep.
live without either looking too odd or being able to connect with folks in a meaningful way. That's the secret sauce. So it is about the device and obviously how useful and how powerful it is. But more so than that, it's a social piece in terms of how people respond to you wearing it. And I thought that was spot on relative to maybe why that form factor hasn't caught on, like the
And he
Oculus type
talked
of form
about
factor.
Google
I mean,
Glass being so ahead of its time, running basically a similar thing where it's glasses, it's tech, it's in there, but it did the reverse. People thought it was nerdy, people hated it. There was all this backlash when Google Glass launched. But now looking back, it was just the timing wasn't right, and the form factor was too unique. You need as he stated, the Ray-Ban Wayfarers. Those are like everybody's worn those probably once in their lives. To
yeah,
have something so acceptable, and then you add this tech into it, it seems like an incredible, I don't know, inflection point for the combination of tech and wearables and social acceptability. It seems like I don't know if it was luck or what, but the idea of throwing in the Wayfarers was really smart. Really
yeah,
smart.
I think so. I mean, it's something that I would use more
Yeah.
than the Vision Pro. Like, I wouldn't
So,
necessarily be walking around with that, but I wear glasses now. I wear glasses all the time, and I wear sunglasses, and it just is more socially acceptable, right? Like,
yeah,
there's some jumps that are such a big leap in terms of how people respond to them that you have to kind of go more slowly. I think even like the AirBuds. Remember when the AirPods first came out,
yeah.
and you were like,
Who's gonna
who's
wear
that
that?
person even talking to you? It's just that's just kind of crazy. And now now most people are using them, right? It's
Yeah,
way more commonplace. So I think it has to be kind of an entry point that allows people to test the new technology without standing out
yeah,
more than they would like. What I also thought that he shared that was interesting is he talked about, you know, if the glasses could chip away, if AR is his form factor and it was chipping away, it's not going to be something that's immediate, right? Like people are going to use smartphones and then slowly, they're going to be spending more time. It's going to decrease the usage of smartphones and it's going to increase the usage of devices like Meta's product. And I think he's right. I think that like I had maybe had a bit of a misconception that there could be a device that came in that was just so unique that it captured the imagination and people quickly, responded to it and started using it. Like if there was some type of wearable that OpenAI created that was, able to kind of go around with you and take all the interactions and integrate that with like ChatGPT or something like that. But I think Casey's probably right that it'll be more slowly and it'll be closer to form factors that we're already using now, and then
yeah.
that will get more popular and over time, we may shift. to a new device.
Yeah, I mean, really, the ball is in OpenAI's court for the next move. I feel like, right, where they've kind of announced that they're playing on some kind of hardware. That form factor is going to be interesting, right? Because it could go many ways.
Yeah.
From this point forward, right? We've seen, I've got my Aura ring on. That you could do a necklace, you could do a bracelet. You've got your iPod, AirPods in. You got glasses. I have a hat on. Who knows what form factor this thing will take? Maybe the MLB logo is a camera. I have no idea, but that is going to be very telling. I think his point of fashion and acceptability is something that is going to be harder to pinpoint, like, right? Because like the Google Glass, it does everything the Ray-Ban Metas do, but it was not acceptable. And you just changed the
Yeah.
form factor a little bit to something people are more accepting of, and boom, you've got a hit. So it's, to come out with something new and innovative, the real question mark is social acceptability and how they roll that out. And that comes down to what? Branding and marketing and having the right sort of message across, which is tough. That's a tough one.
And it will probably be very influencer led. Like if it does
Yes.
get people to change behavior, you're going to have to see folks who have large audiences and have a lot of kind of respect within individual spaces promoting it. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that. Maybe one last piece on this was like at the end of the video, he talks about the average American spends 4.5 hours a day, unlocks their phone 205 times per day.
Same.
And like the net good of smartphone, like the net negatives of smartphones may be outweighing the positive now. And that could be a reason why people also slowly transition to another form factor. But I guess my question would be to him, like, what is to stop the glasses from them becoming so immersive that, that even that creates even like worse behaviors that we can't necessarily conceive of right now,
right.
but even worse behaviors, because a phone you can at least put in your pocket, right? If you're wearing some type of glasses, those are just on your face all day.
Yeah.
Right. There's kind of like
really literally right in front of you all the time.
Yeah. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with the thesis, but I definitely can understand why like smartphones right now aren't necessarily totally, beneficial devices.
Yes.
Especially on the social media side. So
the pros and the cons, they're like at this point, they're kind of, it's hard to balance. Before it's like, oh, you got email, you got work, you're productive, you're out, it's got all the in your music and all of it felt like pros. And now it's starting to delve into, especially now I'm at the age where my child, we're debating on should we get a phone? They're in middle school. Should they have it for number one? All those pros and cons of like, do we do it? Do we not? And it's scary. It really is. Because I'm definitely addicted to my phone. There's no question. I use it all the time. I'm on it, even when I don't want to be.
Yeah.
So I get it. It is a scary time, and we'll see what. And on that note, OpenAI and AI, the impact of all these things on music and Hollywood also jump to the news. Maybe you can jump into a smooth transition to music and the AI industry. What's the latest?
So also, for those of you who follow me on LinkedIn as well, I did a post on this, but there was a pretty landmark deal that I don't think it's been finalized, but it's being in the process of being finalized between Universal Music, Warner Music, and some of the top, AI music research labs and platforms out there right now to offer like a first of their kind licensing deals. And, if this goes through, my vantage point is that this could be the biggest transformation in the industry since Spotify, and streaming platforms and kind of new monetization models and distribution methods for getting music into the hands of consumers. And so on the AI side, it's startups like 11 Labs, Stability AI, Suno, Udio, a few companies that some of y'all may have heard of. And the way that the deals would be structured is basically like streaming royalties. So every time an AI track uses a licensed song, a micropayment will flow back to the labels. And so I think my takeaways with this signal is that this is where the industry is just heading, right? I think that the major music companies, major labels, they understand this is just kind of where things are going. The last time when there was major technological shift, they were a bit late to the game. Now they want to be ahead of it. They want to start structuring these deals now so they get the most favorable terms possible. And it's just, is what it is. If you can't beat them, like, be leveraging the technology in a way that's going to help to improve your revenues. Yeah, so I think that's where things are going. Obviously, some of the legal cases that have been brought before different state and federal courts have gone the way of AI, right? Fair use and terms have been very, very positive. So I think it's just another example of tailwinds on the AI side. Like, obviously we should be staying on top of this, but it seems like more tailwinds than headwinds right now on people in kind of more creative spaces having to work with this new technology.
Yeah, I'm sure the fear for those in that world are, we're going to use AI to create all the music, and then people are going to own nothing. Is that, putting them in there and reversing it with, hey, if AI uses yours, then you're going to get paid, kind of flips it around a little bit. Am I wrong in thinking that? Because I think I would assume, if I'm making music and I hear AI is coming to make music, I'd be like, oh, great, now no one's going to. I mean, it's going to figure out how to make the best music, and I'm out of a job. Versus, oh, wait a minute, this thing is going to do its thing, and maybe it will use my music and make me money, which is kind of an interesting way to think about it. No?
Yeah, I think so. When the streaming transition really happened and people were starting to use these platforms more than, like, kind of we're old heads, right? Like buying CDs and things like that, and tapes. Artists, not only the industry transformed, but the artists had to transform into figuring out more experiential ways of connecting with the fans. And that's why the tours and merch and all the things like that are even that much more important. And I think that's going to become even more important during this period now, like with some of these ideals that are structured. Because frankly, if you're the music industry, right, you have all these artists, you have deals set up with them, but let's say that consumer behavior and trends change, and they're able to use all this data to just create AI related songs that don't require any artist, any structured deals. They can just put out music on these streamers, and
Right.
well, okay, that's great for them. They have this catalog, and they could just make music themselves without even having to bring artists. Now, I think there would be like pushback against that. But on the other side of it, it's okay. Well, the fans who are not buying into that, well, what do? Well, they go even harder on trying to support human artists, right? So when you're looking at Spotify, it has something like when you prompt some type of image where it has some type of watermark on it, it will have all watermarks of this was human created or this was AI created. And, there'll be a premium that some people will be willing to, pay for those experiences and to listen to that type of music. So we'll see how far the backlash goes against it, but I think there could even be kind of new models there. They'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
And then on the Hollywood side, I don't know how closely you follow this. Tilly Norwood, a fully AI generated actress, getting some traction now with I think a bunch of actors and actresses have come out and sort of like said this is weird and gross that an fully AI generated from an AI studio is now, getting an agent and getting jobs and sort of being publicly introduced as the next Scarlett Johansson, the next big actress. What are your thoughts? Where are we going with this? It seems like we've talked about it. There are instances, especially in Asia, of like brands creating an AI influencer, and is this the next evolution? You've got an AI generated character that's now going to be casted into roles, and you're going to have to pay them, and we're going to sort of see them in different movies and roles and think like, is this I don't know. Where are we going? What do you think?
I think that if you're telling personal human stories or historical stories that are very much based off of like some life experience that's unique and has an emotive element, I think you need humans to tell those stories, because I think that you can't really connect to the characters in the same way, at least in the way that our brains have been trained now. Again, this is within the context of when we're living now. I don't think you can necessarily do that with just AI characters. Now, for all of these like Marvel movies and crazy action movies, etc., where it's kind of more about the things blowing up and superheroes fighting each other than where the character development is through kind of these fictitious worlds, I don't know if that necessarily needs to be those actors. So I think that we'll see content kind of, fall into two different type of lanes. But I think what's most interesting is if these tools exist and the companies own IP, let's say, Marvel and Disney and Warner, et cetera, and they license that IP out to individuals like me, like you and me as creators, and they just create platforms for you to be able to develop content in a Netflix / Reddit combined platform that allows you to just manipulate, create short films, other movies, leveraging their inventory of characters, et cetera. And you have all you need is your creativity and storytelling ability, et cetera, to do that. Then I think like that's kind of more where my mind goes. Like I think it's interesting to see where Hollywood goes kind of in the short term in terms of AI versus real humans. But I think about the power of every individual to become a creator who can make incredible Hollywood grade content from their bedroom as a more interesting exploration of
Yeah.
like what that can mean now.
Yeah, I always assumed that it will happen at some point where movie, all of the characters and all of the sort of background, everything will be AI generated. I always thought that was possible, but never. I mean, in the interim, it does kind of make sense that you're going to need familiar characters like you would with actors and actresses that, oddly enough, are AI. Like maybe that makes sense. I don't know. I'm wrapping my head around. I didn't quite understand it at first because I'm like, why would you need to hire? Can't you just create your own unique AI character? Why do you need to hire one? Because, but yeah, maybe there's value there that I'm just not sure about because um, the studio or its development is better than everyone else. So you want to use that same character because it has some sort of brand recognition. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a really fascinating one. Yeah, we'll see.
If you think of like animated movies that have done really well,
Right.
and think of like Inside Out or something recent that's done well, there are certain voices that you recognize and you have some
Yeah.
affinity towards, and like kind of that's what makes the character shine a bit more. I think that's important. But imagine you could just take any character's voice and input it, like any actor's voice, and
Yeah.
use the same characters and make everything else with AI. Like,
It's interesting.
is
It's
the
kind of like the equivalent. I'm going to
yeah
do another drama, but I'm using Homer Simpson as the main character and he's going to play a serious role. Like that's wild. Like it's not something I would have thought of,
yeah
but maybe it works. Maybe because it is home. Like the equivalent of that is like, hey, I would like to see Homer Simpson in another role because I've
yeah
grown to know him and love him in The Simpsons, and he is technically an AI character, right? Like he is in an artificial cartoon, but maybe him starring in the Truman Show would be interesting. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
well
It's
yeah
kind of yeah,
and think of it as kind of like an actual human embodiment of that character, like a more live action type
right.
of content, right? Like I would be kind of interested in that if it was maybe even like a darker portrayal of the Simpsons and it's played, in that format. I think it all I'm not sure where it goes either, but I think
Yeah,
that
cool. Interesting.
we're close to figuring out if that type of content can do well
Resonate.
in a commercial way,
Yeah,
like at scale. And I think all you need is one semi strong success, and then I think the industry
right.
flips.
It does seem like someone's going to need to take the lead on the creation and development of an AI character. And then maybe you'll go to that studio that makes that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nevertheless, lots for us to keep track of and talk about.
Every week seems like it's
Make
because
sure you
interesting. It's
like.
like VO3 came out. Yeah, just quickly,
Yeah,
like VO3 came out like it was like a month ago. Then like Sora is kind of in some respects blowing it out. It's like
yep. Just
it's
like that.
crazy to keep up
I
with.
know Sora had some like viral video of Sam Altman stealing on a TV camera that's kind
Yeah,
of blown up and like all these
yeah.
weird things happening. So like, who knows? Anyways, make sure you like and subscribe. If you want more, give us suggestions, comments. We appreciate it. We're at 300 plus. We're at 311 followers. Wow, man, time flies.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We'll be in touch. All right, Justin.
Sounds good, man.
Talk soon.
Later.